While we still hate the Dodgers and think they broke baseball, we are going to talk about today if perhaps a salary floor is more to blame for the lack of competitive balance in baseball than a salary cap. Plus, Mike Hazen made some comments about trading away potentially some young players to get value back, and we are going to speculate on what he could mean by that and who they might be trading. We're doing that in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere. And happy Thursday to you all. Welcome into another edition of the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It is I, your mayor of PHNX, occasionally known as Derek Montilla. Thrilled to have you guys here and thrilled to be joined once again by the one, the only Damon Dog on the ones and twos. And please do not tell him anything about his aforementioned birthday present that we discussed on yesterday's show. Secrets. Welcome in to you guys. Of course, this show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Make sure to download that app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, and make sure you buy yourself some last-minute tickets over there for sure. But the free agent frenzy begins today. We are going to start to see moves made potentially as early as 5 p.m. Eastern today, which is just around the corner. So it'll be interesting to see how fast the free agent market starts popping off with those free agents being able to sign with new teams today as of 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, we have not received word confirming this, but the Dbacks do also have until 5 p.m. Eastern today to submit a qualifying offer to Zach Gallen, and that would be valued at $22 million, $22.025 million. For one season. Everybody expects Gallen to turn that down. However, MLB.com and Mark Feinsand did put out an article about looming free agents, the top 30 free agents available this offseason, and where he believes those free agents are going to land. And he did say that the Diamondbacks are one of the teams that could land Zach Gallen. He had the Dbacks as one of the three teams. Now, will that happen? I don't know. I think that there is still a decent chance with some of the opt-in situations that we've seen with other starting pitchers around baseball that Gallen might opt into that $22 million deal. That might absolutely be the reason, or that might be the best value that he could get, at least for 2026, allowing him to have a rebound season and then come out in 2027 and perhaps once all of that labor dispute stuff is settled, get the contract that he's been seeking. But Gallen does have until November 18th to accept or reject that qualifying offer, and we expect, again, the Diamondbacks to make that qualifying offer by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, and for Zach Gallen most likely to reject it, but I still feel like maybe it's a 60-40 right now in favor of him rejecting it, but still a decent percentage chance that he could come back on that qualifying offer. And we got a super chat already from Emily Williams calling me out, saying that Derek hasn't worked on the jersey list, and she's right. I can't.
Facts.
I can't lie. Facts. She got me. Almost in the cup, Damon. Almost in the cup. He's mad about the hat.
I'm throwing tomatoes at Derek.
He's throwing tomatoes. Sorry, Emily. That's my bad for sure.
In the cup would have been
insane. Splashing water upon me. That would have been
that's
crazy.
the ultimate beer pong shot.
Oh, it would have been amazing. And we would have had it on film. But again, those free agents, the qualifying offer to Zach Gallen by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time needs to be made. Free agents can start signing with new teams after that. So, of course, we here at the PHNX Diamondbacks show are going to cover some of those free agents that we hope to see the Diamondbacks sign. Today, we're taking a look at two relievers, one who is more of a long shot dream signing and one who is far more realistic and quite frankly could be right in the Diamondbacks price range as far as signing a reliever who quite frankly could still be considered elite despite having a down season in 2025. But first, we're going to look at the very coveted reliever of our hearts, the one that Damon and I, when we look at the free agents in baseball, want more than anybody else, and for multiple reasons. Mostly because, once again, it would help weaken San Diego Padres team that made a very questionable managerial signing today that we'll talk about on tomorrow's show for sure. But we have to get around to sealing one Robert Suarez away from the San Diego Padres. Suarez, while still being an elite reliever, he did lead Major League Baseball with 40 saves, or not baseball, he led National League last year with 40 saves. I still have my hesitations about signing a Padres reliever that led the league in saves in the previous year, and I think you all understand why, Mark. But in 2025, Robert Suarez was elite. He was one of the best relievers in the National League. He had a 2.97 ERA, a 2.88 FIP, and a 0.904 WHIP. And it gets even better in his career. In his career, he has a 2.91 ERA, and Damon, 21 home runs allowed in his career. In 210 innings pitched, he has allowed 21 home runs over 4 seasons.
Wow.
It's wild how good he is, how consistent he is. Let's take a look there at those numbers from 2025.
Sorry.
No, you're right. You're right.
Hashtag I apologize.
Hashtag we're driving all over the place. Robert Suarez did convert 40 out of 45 save opportunities in 2025. Like I said, he led the National League. He had that 2.97 ERA, 0.904 WHIP. He had an opponent batting average there of 189 and a B-WAR, baseball reference WAR of 2.3. His fastball velocity is elite. He has touched 101.3 miles per hour on his four-seam fastball. He has an elite pitch mix. There, he kind of uses a changeup to really enhance that fastball. But much like Ryan Nelson, he's primarily a fastball pitcher. His career usage, or at least his pitch mix in 2025, had him using that fastball around 75% of the time. So he also mixes in a sinker and, like I said, that changeup. But he just has an incredible fastball and again, just a very consistent whiff rate. His contact whiff rate for his four-seam fastball is 28.9% in 2025. And in 2025, also opposing batters had a barrel rate of 8% and a hard hit rate of 43.8%. He is one of the best relievers available on the market, and it makes it very hard to imagine the Diamondbacks being able to sign him. Based on what Spot Track predicts, he has an annual value predicted at $16.8 million, and they're projecting a 4-year, $67.3 million deal, which would be very, very high for a reliever. However, you know, as we've seen across baseball, as we've seen with the Edwin Diaz situation, he's opting out from that deal that he has with the Mets. I mean, this actually doesn't look too terrible. It does involve putting a lot of money that the Diamondbacks, you know, already have to kind of budget towards one single reliever. And in the case of the Diamondbacks, let's just say signing Zach Gallen or having Zach Gallen come back on that contract and accept that qualifying offer, $16.8 million and $22 million is going to put you at the budget. That's it. The Diamondbacks literally are able to pick up 2 free agents this offseason should Gallen accept the qualifying offer, or should they sign another starting pitcher with an average annual value of around $22 million. This is the situation they're going to be in should they go after an elite reliever like Robert Suarez. Now, I gave you all of his stats, and I think they all speak for themselves on why you would. There's no doubt. There's no doubt that this completely would change the bullpen for the Diamondbacks and completely change, I guess, how people looked at this team as far as being a competitive team in 2026. However, it's going to cost them, and it's going to cost them money that they most likely don't have. There could be ways to creatively structure a contract like this, especially a 4-year deal. They could just give him more money, essentially, in 2027 and 2028, 2029, instead of having it be an equal amount throughout the 4 years. But again, it's going to potentially cost the Diamondbacks a lot to get a relief arm that's as good as Suarez. Why should they do that? Well, their bullpen has sucked. And we saw how Paul Sewald, who really wasn't even that great of a reliever, he had experience, he knew how to get outs, but his stuff was not electric, not in the way that Suarez is with his 101.3 mile per hour fastball. But, again, it brought stability because it was a closer that was capable of doing the job and came in and really let all the other guys in the bullpen kind of understand what their roles would be going forward. So I think that's why going out, getting a closer that is an established closer that the other pitchers in the bullpen understand coming in what his role is going to be. There's not going to be any doubts about it. There's not going to be any, competition for who's going to be in that role. You're going to know from the time they sign them who that, what that role is going to be, who that person is coming in to be. And that's why I think Robert Suarez is would be the one of the few guys that's going to cost you that much as far as a bullpen arm that's worth it. And I think that, again, the Diamondbacks bullpen, their relief situation has been a nightmare in the entire existence of this team, right? Ever since Randy Johnson came in that 2001 World Series and clinched it for us, we've been cursed. So getting a guy like this really feels like it would turn things around. However, like I said, it's going to cost you a lot of money. On the flip side, there's a far more realistic name that's out there available as a free agent that not only would not require a multi-year deal, but wouldn't cost the Diamondbacks nearly as much, but you could say is still an elite reliever despite having a down season in 2025. And that pitcher is Devin Williams. In 2025, his career numbers were down. He was well off his peak form. He had a 4.79 ERA and a 1.13 whip. Look here at his stats with the New York Yankees. I mean, this was a big signing for the Yankees in general. And he did not really live up to the expectations there. The Yankees also went out and I believe got themselves like 4 other closers. So that situation definitely got confusing for a lot of those guys. And as you can see, Devin Williams did not get very many opportunities in that closing role, though he did convert 18 out of 22. He did have a 4.79 ERA, and that's going to be key because that high ERA could be the exact thing that allows him to be affordable for the Arizona Diamondbacks. The opponent batting average, not terrible at all, 197. He did have a minus 0.3 BWAR in 2025, and again, that whip was 1.129. And Katie May says we need to stop scraping the bottom of the bargain bin and swing for the fences. I think the only problem with that, Katie, is once again the difference in cost. And I know that it feels like that at times with what the Diamondbacks are doing, but Mike Hazen is going to have to kind of be at his best as far as being a GM is concerned. He's going to have to kind of try to find a guy like Devin Williams that had a down season that you can buy on the rebound. And again, given his dip in 2025, a team could view him as a buy low scenario. He's got all the tools that you want in a closer. And, again, he's had recent success, just not with the Yankees. You feel like maybe with a return to a smaller team where the demands aren't so high by that franchise just in general, and he can just kind of come in, know what his job is going to be, and know that he's not going to be replaced by another guy immediately, then maybe he can return to that elite form. The bigger thing here is because of the risk, I think it would be acceptable for Devin Williams and for a team to agree to yet another 1-year deal, or at least an incentive-laden contract where if he can hit like 30 saves, 35 saves in a season, then he can make more money. And I always love those deals. I think those are the best for everybody because it gives the player something to shoot for. It still gives them some stability by having a base contract that's reasonable, not out of the question. But again, if a guy comes out like Devin Williams and returns to the form that he was with the Brewers, then you feel like he's worth every dime of that money. Right now,
100%.
Spot Track is predicting him at $5.7 million annually.
Ooh, wow. I mean, sign me up for $5.7 million annually. I don't think that it's going to be anywhere close to that. I was looking at some projections earlier before the show, and it was pretty similar to the Robert Suarez projections,
like
actually.
15 million?
Around 15 million
well,
APY.
And I imagine that would be more on a 1-year deal, though, still.
Sure.
I don't think
maybe two.
Maybe two, but I don't think a team is really ready to commit long-term to Devin Williams, considering this season he had.
Totally. I first off, I want to say I do agree. A team like the Diamondbacks, specifically on the incentive-driven side of things, I think that's a perfect fit for the D-backs organization, right? Because we're kind of in a spot right now where we can't afford the little salary that we can dish out. We can't afford for those players to be misses.
Correct.
We're not the Dodgers where Sasaki could be in the rotation and then suck, and then it's no big deal because we have $1.3 billion invested into the rest of our rotation.
Right.
So because of that, we have to hit on these signings. So I do think that the incentive-driven thing could be smart for Mike Hazen if they can get players to agree to that. That's the big if there. But in regards to Devin Williams, Derek, I want you to do me a favor real quick. Look up Devin Williams' Baseball Savant page for a second.
Oh, it's hot.
It's pretty good.
It's hot.
It's about the same as Robert Suarez is.
That's why I say, like, I think that
maybe he got a little unlucky.
The opponent batting average there was kind of part of that, because Robert Suarez, an opponent batting average of 189, right? Mm-hmm. You have, again, Devin Williams, 197. Not that far off as far as opponent batting average, right? We're talking about like less than a very small percentage here, right? But what we're overall looking at here is that the results were much different, and a big part is that Devin Williams was giving up the home runs, whereas that is something that Robert Suarez just doesn't do. Interestingly enough, his worst ERA, though, Suarez's this season, was at Chase Field. He had the highest ERA at Chase Field than anybody else.
What was that?
It was like 22.5 was his ERA at Chase Field. He only played 2 games, though. So it's a very small sample size, but apparently the D-backs lit him up, and I find that hilarious because just glancing at that made me go, maybe we don't want to pay that much money for him to be bad at Chase Field. But again, it's part of what Mike Hazen is going to have to do. And again, if you can convince someone like Devin Williams to agree to a base salary that makes, again, more sense, right? Like more along the lines of $8-9 million, and then incentives could drive it as high as $15 million. Well, quite frankly, he deserves that money at the end of the season if he's that good for the Diamondbacks. If you can set goals for him to reach, but overall, I again, that's the way that they have to shop. Unfortunately, Katie, and I know she says I definitely hear that, but still feeling very much like a bargain bin scraping. Damon, could you scroll back a little bit because her comment just went away? It was at the top. Scraping and wishing it'll turn to gold rather than just buying a little bit of gold. The problem is that, again, there's a lot of things that they need to fix. And as we've seen so far in the past, buying that little bit of gold or even a lot of gold, unfortunately, came back to bite them for different reasons, right? Jordan Montgomery just wasn't himself anymore, and then he gets injured. Corbin Burns took a little while to get going. Once he got going, we got very excited about how he looked, and then he got injured, right? So just from a perspective, even though there's no reason in the world for you to think that if you went out and got another high-end pitching arm that it would turn this way, it's hard not to, I think, feel that way for this front office and for the ownership group. I mean, they wanted to go out and add to this team at the right time, and they did. And you can't blame ownership for not opening the checkbook and paying for the players that they thought would make this team elite and compete once again in 2024 and 2025. But just for unfortunate reasons, it didn't work out. And like Damon said, we are just not the kind of franchise that can bounce back from a catastrophic loss, like spending $35 million a year on Corbin Burns and then having him miss more than half the season due to injury, and now essentially miss an entire year due to injury, right? So it sucks, and it's the reason why most likely Mike Hazen will have to go with a reliever more like Devin Williams and less like Robert Suarez. It still doesn't mean, though, that they couldn't bring in a guy whose stats from 2025 don't look great and have them turn things around, and especially in the case of Williams, return to their former form. But
another option, Derek, is, and we talked about him a little bit as well before the show, is Ryan Helsley, who has been phenomenal the last 3 seasons, has an ERA sub-2, and then got to the Mets this year and had a 7+ ERA on a team that was reeling. And it's like, maybe you could get a bit of a discount there because he's been an elite level relief pitcher, and just like I'm sure people have a bad taste in their mouth from, him being a bigger reason why the Mets didn't make playoffs last year. Right. So maybe a Devin Williams or a Ryan Helsley is the type that the Diamondbacks could try to buy low on, get a good value on, and maybe they could almost transform the bullpen in a way, because having guys like that, like we don't have anybody like that, not named AJ Puck and Justin Martinez, and
Right.
those guys are not available. So,
But then you just start thinking of how that bullpen could look if
I
they
don't-
do have a Ryan Helsley or a Devin Williams, and those two guys come back, and you just start feeling very differently about what this team could do to turn things around in the second half.
that's special.
And here you yelled at me before the show today because Damon is fed up with this talk that 2026 is going to be a loss, that we're already chalking it up to be an abysmal season. There's no reason to think that Mike Hazen can't go out there and improve this team in several ways, especially with the market having a lot of guys that had a down year, especially, like Zach Gallen's a perfect case of that. We saw Zach Gallen become Gallen again before the end of the season. That still wasn't enough for him to turn his ERA around a lot. He did get it below 5, but Gallen's ERA still looks just as bad as Devin Williams. And yet, from watching him, you wouldn't say that Zach Gallen was as bad as his numbers indicate, especially, in the second half. But
Yeah.
that's not what teams go on. Teams have to go on the statistics. They have to go on predictive statistics. They have to go on XWOBA and XBA and all of that crap just from them, just so that they can try to see what the real story is, whether a guy just got lucky one season or the adverse to that had a bad luck, right? But
Derek, last time I'll just tell everybody what I told you before the show.
Go.
Last time I checked, we still have Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, and Geraldo Perdomo on this team. Now, if anybody else wants to give up on a team that has those 3 players, you go ahead and you tell them to their faces that we're giving up on you before the season even starts. But I don't think Mike Hazen has the balls to do that. I don't think he'll look them in the eyes and tell them that, Derek. I think he's going to go out there and spend, and I think he's going to try to put a winning team around these guys because why wouldn't you? You have 3 damn near MVP candidates. Not even damn near. They are MVP candidates. How could you punt on prime years of those 3 players and expect your fan base to buy in with you? It won't happen. I do think that the Diamondbacks are not going to be like Corbin Burns level aggressive like they were last year, or Jordan Montgomery when we least expected it.
Right.
But I think the Diamondbacks are going to be more aggressive than maybe we've even given a little bit of credit for on this show in the offseason, because I just think that there's so many roles to fill. Even if it has to come down to trades, Mike Hazen is going to make trades if he has to. So,
well, and we have more on that, of course, and I think we might just punt on that to tomorrow a little bit here. But Mike Hazen did make some comments to Steve Gilbert in a new article over there at MLB, saying that he was open to dealing some of the top of the from dealing the top of the organization's prospects list if the return is right, and that is something, again, that we know the Diamondbacks are going to have to do. However, what prospects get dealt and who has value, right?
What could this mean, Derek?
What could this mean? I think it means that trades are going to happen, Damon. I think that's what it means. He wants, us to know that. And names were named, but just in speculation, right? Jordan Lawler, Ryan Waldschmidt, they were both named as potential candidates in this article. But yeah, we're going to talk more about that, and we're going to look at who the Diamondbacks could potentially get in a trade should they go in that direction. But of course, that's for tomorrow. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. We're also going to take a look at free agency moves that might have happened. I think Stu asked in the chat, sorry to make you go back this far, Damon, but I think Stu asked, can teams start signing players at any time, or is it more likely they wait until the winter meetings? That's a great question. There's meetings in Las Vegas that are the general manager meetings that take place before the winter meetings. And yeah, then there's the winter meetings. Teams can sign players at any time. Like once 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today comes and goes, teams are free to start signing players, and players are free to start signing with teams. Now, in some cases, decisions might kind of already be done. Like players might have had informal conversations with, people within the organization. They know an offer is coming. They might be very apt to signing with a team that they kind of already know has interest in them. So that's something that happens. I don't know how legal or illegal that is to say, but I feel like that is something that is very commonplace here when it comes to free agency.
Derek, are you saying that Munetaka Murakami is already a Los Angeles Dodger and before even being posted? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now? Because I'm pretty sure you're looking me in the eyes and you're telling me that I'm gonna look over here again. Munetaka Murakami is a Los Angeles
already
Dodger.
Signed as a Dodger.
Yeah, I mean, someone investigate this problem at MLB,
right?
Please,
right. And like Michael Dixon said here, yes, they just don't typically sign until January and February, and the reason for that is, and even February is a little late, but the reason why is because players want to see where the market goes, how the market is dictated, right? So
baseball free agency is so stupid. We talk about this every year, Derek, where it's like, especially for people that do jobs like me and Derek, where we feed off of like the narrative and like the hype around transactions. And it's like NBA and NFL, they go, actually, our window is now open. And the second it opens, people are flying off the board left and right. It's free agency bonanza. Everyone's having the most fun ever. The Suns podcast is doing like thousands of views on all their VOD content. And then Derek and I just sit here and we go, oh, MLB free agency is open. That's cool.
Yeah. There's a part of me that's
I wonder when we'll sign a guy.
Oh, we have to do these episodes where we're previewing who the Diamondbacks could sign. No rush at all.
Literally, there's literally no rush because this thing is gonna last 3 months until the Diamondbacks have like filled most of the holes on their roster, and I hate it so much. It's like, put this in a confined space and make it an event that people care about.
They don't do that, Damon. You know they don't. You know they're bad at making events and having stuff be like something when it's coming and when awards are going to be announced and all of that.
100%, but it's like everything they get wrong. It's like
I know
people should be tuning into the MLB Network. Which, by the way, if you want to talk networks like NBA Network, NBA TV versus NFL Network versus MLB Network, I think MLB Network might have the best product of any of them. They have a really, really good product over at MLB Network.
You're right.
People should be tuning into like the hot stove show.
I mean, MLB
right now across the country being like, who's going to sign where? But no one cares.
MLB was like an innovator in streaming games and getting all of that stuff out there, right? So at one point they were on the forefront. And Michael Dixon says here, Jordan Montgomery signed March 29th. I don't know why you wanted to remind us of that. I don't need that.
It's the non-flashback picture of the soldier with in the background. All I'm thinking is Jordan Montgomery highlights with the guy running around the bases around him.
That was incredibly late, though. And that is as late as guys could sign. He's absolutely right. But it feels like, for the most part, the Diamondbacks are going to be, once again, a team that signs guys late. They are going to probably wait for certain names to fall to them. They're going to wait for certain teams that are going to go out there and be spending far more money than they are to pick up those free agents and decide who they want. And again, this goes back to Katie May's unfortunate reality of the situation, but it feels like they're going to have to wait to see what's left over. What are the scraps, right? And it's one of the only ways I think that they can find some of those diamonds in the rough that they can, at least supplement their team with some of the support that is needed. I just don't think that they can go out there and once again sign the biggest name on the free agency market as far as pitching is concerned, and I don't think any of us would be realistic to expect to do so. However, Robert Suarez is probably that. If you're talking about relievers, besides Edwin Diaz, who most likely is just going to re-sign with the Mets for another mountain of money, it really does feel like, again, the Diamondbacks might be swinging for the fences there with the Robert Suarez deal, and that's why we felt like Devin Williams was far more reasonable. But we're going to take a quick break, and we are going to talk on the other side of this break about how maybe perhaps a salary floor is really what Major League Baseball needs more than a salary cap, and it might be something that we can actually get the owners and players on board with. So don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondbacks show. Well, Damon, what time is it?
It's always game time on the PHNX Dbacks podcast.
It is always game time, and that's because Game Time is the place for you to purchase your tickets for not just sporting events, but for concerts, for comedy shows, and so much more. And of course, you can check out the super simple and intuitive experience of buying tickets with the Game Time app. It is aesthetically pleasing and a great app to use, and they make it so easy for you to save money. You can save so much on basketball tickets, specifically with the Suns being one of those teams that we don't know what to really expect out of, right? This team looks pretty good. So go watch them over there at Morty and get yourself some last minute tickets through Game Time. You can check out the zone deals, which will allow you to pick a section of the arena and they will find you the best deal. And they also have Game Time picks, which will just randomly find you the best seat for the best deal in the entire building. So do not miss out on everything Game Time has to offer. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first order. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. Download the Game Time app today. And for more than 15 years, Access Insurance Agency of Arizona has provided affordable and reliable car insurance to drivers in the Phoenix metro area. As a dedicated part of the local community, Access Auto helps Arizona drivers get insured by offering flexible coverage options and accepting various forms of ID, driving histories, and license types. By partnering with over 20 insurance carriers, they make it easy for you to compare rates and find the best policy for your budget. With bilingual Spanish-speaking agents at 9 convenient locations across the valley, Access agents are ready to assist customers in finding the right coverage for their budgets and identifying available discounts. Both card and cash payments are accepted for added convenience. Access Auto, trusted by the community, rooted in Phoenix, and ready to help. All statements are subject to terms, exclusions, and conditions of the applicable policy. In all instances, the current policy language contract prevails. Coverage is subject to individual policy holders meeting underwriting qualifications and state availability. Other terms, conditions, and exclusions may apply. Well, of course, we over here in this small market, if you want to call it that, think that overspending is really the big problem in baseball. And when you look at the wide, range of what teams are paying in their payroll, you can understand why it's a little frustrating to see what the Los Angeles Dodgers continue to do year after year. But as many Dodgers fans screamed at us in the chat on Monday's show, there are other teams that are spending nearly as much money as the Dodgers. And I think, again, the problems that we have with the Dodgers go far beyond their current payroll and where it's at, and have more to do with the fact that they've creatively found ways within the confines of the rules of baseball to defer payments and to structure contracts in a way where they're able to continue to add free agent after free agent and improve their team here even after they've won 3 World Series in the last 5 years. Damon and I were screaming and crying a little bit and maybe throwing tantrums over looking at that top 30 free agent list that I described earlier, because most of the free agents on that list have the Dodgers attached to them as the primary team that could land them. And it just makes you want to pull your hair out, right? But the problem there being might have less to do with the Dodgers and what they are able to spend, and more with what the teams at the bottom have and are able to spend but aren't spending. And I will definitely tip my cap to the Dodgers because they are at the top of baseball as far as reinvesting back into their team the money that they make off of it, but as are the Diamondbacks. Therein is where the big problem with the differences in teams and what those franchises make in competitive balance lies, right? Is that even though the Diamondbacks reinvest a decent percentage of what they make back into the team, it still handicaps them in spending compared to what the Dodgers are able to make, right? And yes, you could say other teams can defer contracts and do all of that stuff too. I'm fine with agreeing with you on that. I'm not even going to argue with you on that point. And again, Elizabeth says the only thing I will tip my cap to is the Dodgers for their organist. He is elite. And yes, I will also tip my cap to him as well. But
can I say something? Can I say something nice about the Dodgers? Upset of the century. I like their stadium.
Wow.
I know, but that's a hot take. People really hate Dodger Stadium for some reason, but I think it's pretty cool.
I was not expecting that out of you.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you on that. I also love the Hollywood Bowl, by the way, which kind of has the same vibes to me as
I like old stadiums. I'm an old stadium man.
Yeah.
That's not like a specific Dodgers thing. That's every stadium.
Well, and the other stadiums that are old are very old. They're like way before my time. Dodger Stadium, even though it's also before my time, still feels more of like the vibe that I grew up in the 1900s. Because I was born and raised in the 1900s, and I come from that era.
Yeah.
And again, that was it's always kind of matched aesthetically what I remember. My first game I ever attended was a Dodgers game at that stadium, so that's where my first.
Well, that's why you love that. There it is. I mean, that's your love of baseball.
There it is.
Mighty Shoeman does make a good point though, Derek. My last time I did go to Dodger Stadium, I did watch Christian Walker claw us out of the Christian Mania first inning disaster deficit.
Yeah.
And the Dbacks ended up beating the Dodgers by like 10 with Christian Walker hitting like 2 bombs.
Sure.
That might have a little bit.
You love that. Yeah. That generates good memories.
I'm hammered, drinking micheladas, yelling at Dodgers fans. My friends are like, Damon, this is not actually the safest of ideas in the entire world.
I've seen you. I know how you get, so I can understand their fears. But there are 3 teams in baseball that currently spend $300 million. The Dodgers, the Mets, and the Yankees. And then there's the Phillies, the Blue Jays, the Houston Astros, the Texas Rangers, the San Diego Padres, the Braves, and the Cubs, and even the Angels and the Red Sox there to round things out that all spend $200 million plus on their payroll. So again, if you talk about the league, almost half of the league spends more than $200 million on their payroll, close to it, right? And then after that, that's where the Diamondbacks and the Giants sit. The Giants had a payroll of $178,000. Diamondbacks had $177,000. Mariners, Baltimore, Detroit, Milwaukee. And again, if you wanted to set some sort of threshold here for spending, maybe you start looking around this point, around that halfway point, because there are 5 teams in baseball that last season didn't even spend $100 million on their teams. Those 5 teams were the Tampa Bay Rays, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Chicago White Sox, the Athletics, and the Miami Marlins. The Miami Marlins, for how good that team was, spent $67 million on their roster. That's crazy. That's a team that, just like the Diamondbacks, basically ended up falling just a little bit out of a final wildcard spot. And at one point, they were one of the hottest teams in baseball. And they're doing it, quite frankly, with a roster full of names that most people have never heard of and don't know. Right? Could you imagine if that Marlins team spent a little money to supplement that young core, that young team that they had that played so well this year, that drove them to a 79-83 record and perhaps makes that team something? But that's the real true problem here, is you have teams like this, and quite frankly, as the years go on, you start to see the same names down here, the same teams, the Rays, the Pirates, the White Sox, the Athletics, the Marlins. You see these teams down here just continue to underspend. And that's it. The issue isn't the Dodgers spending too much. It's the A's spending too little. It's the Marlins spending too little. It's the White Sox spending too little. And that's why a salary floor is something that so many people have talked about, we've spoke about on the show, and some people just might not understand what that is or why that is important. A salary floor forces all teams to invest in their team. It reduces tanking. It reduces giving up on an entire 162 baseball game season. More importantly, it reduces that being a year in and year out quality trait that a team, that an organization has. It just ensures that every club builds a competitive roster. It prevents owners from pocketing revenue and revenue sharing money instead of reinvesting it, because quite frankly, that's happening with some of these teams down here. These teams are getting revenue sharing money and they're not spending it because of the taxes and everything that's being generated by teams like the Dodgers and the Mets and the Yankees. That is going back to the other clubs in baseball, and they're not spending it. And again, this causes fans to get a better product. Fans deserve a better product. Fans of these teams that get invested in them. Look at the Tampa Bay Rays. Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow both came from the Tampa Bay Rays organization. Could you imagine what that team would be if they kept them instead of getting rid of them? That's just become Rays baseball over there. Just getting rid of guys. We come close. Oh, we made it to a World Series. Oh, get rid of the guys. It's crazy. And again, this is something that players and the union would be in favor of and owners wouldn't be. But again, some of the owners that spend should be in favor of. It guarantees every roster has a fair baseline of payroll commitments, and it increases job stability and raises salaries across baseball, right? And again, it encourages those owners and those front offices to reinvest back into their young players like the Diamondbacks are doing by extending guys like Geraldo Perdomo and Corbin Carroll. The Diamondbacks are doing what they should. And the Diamondbacks are not nearly making the money that some of these other organizations are making, right? The Chicago White Sox, at the end of the season, their 26-man roster was costing them $17 million because of injuries. Their top stars were all essentially moved as far as injury pay. So their 26-man roster at the end of the season was getting paid a total of $17 million. That's what some players are making annually. And it's just worked. We've talked about the salary cap being something that's across other sports. Fine, but so is the salary floor. The NFL's is very complicated, but they have a salary floor tied to league revenue, ensuring every team invests in players. Since 2011, the NFL salary floor has been determined using a 4-year rolling average. Each team has been required to spend a sum of money on player compensation that is equal to or greater than 89% of the collective salary cap numbers over the previous 4 seasons. So as those numbers progress, teams are forced to spend more, which they should be, because as time progresses, those teams are making more money. And if they care about their business, which is the team that they own, then they should care about getting butts in the seats in those stadiums and not just opposing fans that are there to watch other teams that they like come into town and play. And that goddamn factor has been driving sports for far too long, because it's the reality of the matter. And we know that here more than most cities understand it, because here in Arizona, we have to go to our stadiums and deal with it being filled with 50% opposing fans. And that's just not a home field advantage anymore. That's not something that any team should strive for. You should strive for season ticket holders and loyal people that are going to come spend their money every game at your stadium and on food and on merch and do all of that stuff. And I mean, overall, man, it's just crazy. Like, NBA teams must spend at least 90% of the cap, forcing them once again to stay competitive. MLB is the only major league without that kind of accountability mechanism. The only league. And I mean, again, the bigger thing is when you talk about teams like the Dodgers being able to land those guys, there is no loyalty, because those players know that the organizations that drafted them, that had them come up and mature and become an elite Major League Baseball player under their watch and under their guidance, they're eventually not going to pay them. When Paul Skenes is inevitably a Dodger or a Yankee or a Met, it's not those teams' fault for opening up their pockets and paying him. It's going to be the Pirates' fault for not keeping him. And that's an inevitability that we all are already facing, right? When a young, hot player comes up for an organization like the Rays, like the Pirates, you just start assuming, where are they going to sign once they're out of their deal? Where are they going to go? How are they going to change some other team once the Pirates don't invest in that person any longer? And that's the reason why a salary floor is so important. A salary floor would require Pittsburgh to pay Paul Skenes, because they were required to pay out money, and they would rather keep that individual rather than letting them go to another team that's just going to open up their checkbook. And yes, BC, Skenes is from Fullerton, California. So there is the concept there that a player like him is going to go back regardless to a team like the Dodgers that he might always want to play for, or a player growing up wanting to play for the Yankees. But a big reason why you grew up...
Fullerton is by the Angels. That's funny. Why doesn't he want to be an Angel?
Why wouldn't he want to be an Angel? I think we know why he wouldn't want to be an Angel. Damon's staring daggers at me, and I don't feel like I even got myself
I'm tired
in
of
this
pretending
predicament.
like it's not a money thing.
It is 100% a money thing.
Yeah.
But it's also playing for an organization that's in the position that the Dodgers are in right now.
100%. You make the most money and you win the most on the Dodgers. So
it's
why
not
wouldn't you
even
want
like
to go
you
there?
have to be like, you know what? I'm going to take a pay cut because I want to win. No. No. That's what makes the Dodgers situation so unfair. You don't even have to take a pay cut. They're going to pay you more than the Pirates were going to pay you to go play for them, right? So again, that's the reason why a salary floor is so important in baseball, and it's what's missing. It stops owners from exploiting this goddamn small market status, and it increases competitive balance across baseball because these teams that are spending $17 million on their 26-man roster by the end of the year have to pay more. And it raises pay across baseball. It would stop having to have these labor disputes, and it just would improve the quality of every team. And this is a season where we didn't even have a 100-game winner, right? So there's already a fair amount of parity, but that parity kind of vanished once the playoffs came along, and you saw the difference in competition or in competitiveness, I guess you could say, between the Dodgers and everybody else they faced along the way until they matched up with the Blue Jays, right? And then they win, and now I had to go out and boo-hoo with sunglasses on Monday because I just watched one of the greatest World Series of all time end in the most tragic way, where the Dodgers came back and won it and kind of broke the heart of everybody that essentially isn't a Dodger fan. But Lost Highway, not wrong at all, says need to clean up the arbitration rookie structure too. Big problem. Absolutely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. It's what allows these teams that don't spend money to essentially exploit those good players until the small contracts are over, and then they're gone. So B says, Derek, we're headed towards a lockout at this point. You know that, right? Well, this is going to be the biggest point of contention when that CBA is argued and negotiated. It's going to be about how can they increase the competitive nature across baseball, and owners are going to be screaming about a salary cap and that they should spend less, when in fact it needs to be more about teams spending more. Quite frankly, like I said, there are a whole lot of teams, including the Diamondbacks. Most of baseball, there are only 12 teams spending more than $200 million, but you kind of know that all those teams could spend $200 million and are just choosing not to do so.
I mean, that's really around where the cap should be, probably. Like, that's where most of the major sports are. I think, let me do
Make it 250, make a floor 150. I don't know.
The NFL salary cap is at $280 million. The NBA salary cap is at $160 million, and they obviously have a lot less players. I think $200 million, based off of the number of players you have, is almost the sweet spot. And here's the thing, Derek, that I think that is like the most infuriating part.
Let's start doing major league rosters too, and not just because a big part of the roster also has that other money that's involved with, minor league players and all of that other stuff. We need to figure out a way where when you're talking about the cap money, you're just talking about the players on the major league roster.
The players union should not, and the NBA has a big problem with this as well. The players union should not only cater to their top clients. It should not be a 1% of MLB players get paid this crazy amount of money by crazy teams, while the relief pitcher on the Diamondbacks is making $700,000 over the course of a season, which is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but the discrepancy is massive, and you're seeing that in the NBA right now as well. Granted, there is a floor there, but the floor will help the lower players make more money, not just keep the game more competitive, but it's going to raise the floor of what a lower level MLB player should make. And I think that everybody should be a fan of that, frankly.
Damon, I know you and I love our jobs, and I don't think anybody could argue that we get paid handsomely to do this job. It's for the love of the game. But I will say no minor league baseball player should be making less than what you and I make. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with baseball.
Or if they're making less, then they should get free room and board.
And that is happening.
Yeah.
Right? They've made some changes and things are going better.
Exactly.
But it's still just the weirdest game, and it's the most difficult to figure out.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you guys being here. On the other side of this break, we're going to take a trip down memory lane on one of our last Throwback Thursdays for a while, considering there isn't much stuff that happens on this week back in 2001 when we were riding high in a parade in downtown Phoenix. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Well, Bet365 obviously makes everything more fun. It's never ordinary. It's always unordinary over there, over at Bet365. That's because they offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting, and live in-game betting is where stuff gets really fun. Not to mention, they still have all of their early payout offers available across sports, including football, basketball, and NHL, and they have a ton of offers available for the football season because Bet365 and football just go together like peanut butter and jelly, including Thursday night football offer where you got a $10 safety net bet offer. They have a $365,000 jackpot for Sunday night football, as well as super profit boost on same game parlays on Monday Night Football. So do not miss out on all the action. And again, you are an instant winner with an early payout on both NFL and college football. If your team goes up by 17 points, you are an instant payout on straight bets, and parlay selections will be marked as winners in those situations. So get down on the action over there at Bet365. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Sign up, use the code of PHNX365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, players, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. And Damon, I got a brand new pair of shades from Shady Rays in my mailbox right now as we speak, and that's a good feeling. And of course, what's an even better feeling is to have something go wrong with your sunglasses and have the fine folks at Shady Rays hit you up, say no problem, you got a new pair coming out. And that's how easy their lost and broken replacement plan is. No questions asked. Their customer service team will take care of you. And of course, if you have not checked out their shades, you can see that they have a wide variety of stylish frames that are durable and very comfortable to wear, and some very, very, very clear optics on their lenses. Polarized lenses help you fight the sun even during the winter here in Phoenix. And of course, keep your eyes protected at all times. So we've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 35% off those polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And it is Thursday, and you know what we do around here on Thursday. We love to take a little trek down memory lane, and I mean, this might be the best one of the entire year, because as we talked about briefly the other day on Tuesday when it actually happened, on November 4th, 2001, Luis Gonzalez's soft single to left field scored Jay Bell and capped a 2-run ninth inning comeback as the Arizona Diamondbacks beat Mariano Rivera and the Yankees by a score of 3-2 to become the quickest expansion franchise team to ever win a World Series. Those were good days. I mean, I was on a cloud that I can't even express. You couldn't talk to me. And one of my best friends in the whole wide world, our guy Mo, who we miss dearly, he was a huge Dodgers fan at the time, and I missed
Mo's ribs all playoffs long, but then again, I didn't. He would have been making me angry.
He's good with those, man. Love that guy, and of course, loved giving him the ribs back then. But on November 7, 2001, tomorrow, back in 2001, the Arizona Diamondbacks celebrated that World Series championship with a parade of our own, and it was glorious. Damon, I think we have some of the shots from this parade, and if I could have pictures converted into liquid form and injected into my veins, it would be this one right here of Baxter in that purple uniform riding on top of an SUV cruising across downtown Phoenix while confetti falls everywhere. It was amazing. We got some more images, I think, here, Damon. We can just kind of run through them. We were robbed of this in 2023. We were robbed of this.
We were. It should have been me and Derek up there on that shirt float, just going nuts
with no shirts on. on the shirt float without
100% with Jesse Jr. Of course.
Yeah, with them just strewn across.
That actually, Derek, I think there's a non-zero chance we would have been in the parade.
Yeah, no.
There's like a 10% chance we would have been in the parade.
Like we might not have been invited, but we would have
like found
been in it.
But like you're telling me Ryan Thompson isn't
Ryan
like grab it, and then you're grabbing me too,
yeah,
and it's me and you, and we just got up shotgunning with Ryan Thompson,
yeah. Like Sloan and Ferris Bueller and Cameron in that movie.
Right there on top of the fire truck.
Oh, it would have been so good. We would have just been right there. Look at this double-decker bus. This goes so hard.
It does.
I want to see if LondonBus.com is still in business because I would love to rent this for our PHNX holiday party. This goes incredibly hard.
It does.
Look at this one. Is this in downtown Phoenix or is this Disneyland? Is this Main Street? Oh, I want to go back. Take me back. Like Elizabeth says, what a time to be alive. And then it entered into the stadium there where they all stood on stage and made their speeches. Oh, good times.
Special.
Good times. Well, we have some more times this week to address. On November 5th, 2002, Randy Johnson, who brought us that World Series practically himself, won his 4th consecutive NL Cy Young Award and the 5th of his career. And that's just so crazy that this man was doing this at like 40 years old. The lefty was a unanimous selection after capturing the Triple Crown of pitching, leading the National League in wins with 24, leading the National League in ERA with a 2.32 ERA, and leading the league in strikeouts with 334. Oh, it's just disgusting how good Randy Johnson was, and it's just hard to wrap your mind around sometimes. November 5th, 2004, Bob Melvin was named manager of this team, and his stint didn't last for a long time, but I think people still love Bob Melvin and still loved that move at the time. On November 8th, 2006, the Dbacks unveiled the Sedona Red and Sonoran Sand and Black at the Hotel Valley Ho in Scottsdale.
Oh, sorry, Derek. That's my bad.
Forever altering our history and how great things were for us in this franchise. Basically just conceding to the Colorado Rockies, here, you have the greatest color in all of baseball. Take it from us. Look at this. Look at this outfit I'm wearing right now with these shorts and these shoes. This purple goes so hard. I don't know what we're doing anymore. Also, for this one's just for Killer X. On November 4, 2016, the Arizona Diamondbacks named Torey Lovullo as the organization's 8th manager. That's our guy. I was going to ask him about chicken parmesan the other day, but I figured I'd just wait for it to be a surprise on Sunday.
One more time.
Beep, beep, beep.
That's
Torey
my
Lovullo, guy. 8th manager in Diamondbacks history. And then on November 8th, 2023, some more history for Torey Lovullo. The Dbacks agreed to terms on a contract extension with him through the 2026 season. And here we are. Well, of course, if you guys want to be informed in the way that we try to inform you with Throwback Thursday, make sure to sign up for the PHNX newsletter. You can get it completely for free over there at gophnx.com/newsletter. Our guy, Alex D'Agostino, is now running it and doing an excellent job. Love to see it in my mailbox every morning. You can be the smartest sports fan you know, and you'll get the biggest news in Arizona sports in your inbox every day at 6 a.m. Well, before we get out of here, I just wanted to spread a little bit of awareness about an auction going on right now for an amazing cause. The Reno Aces team photographer, David Calvert, is unfortunately currently going through a battle with leukemia, cancer, and all that. And the Reno Aces are holding an auction to help David here in his time of need. And of course, we are a big fan of David's work, getting us so many great images of young Arizona Diamondbacks prospects up there in Reno. And the Diamondbacks have helped out a little bit here with this auction. You can bid on items right now like a Luis Gonzalez signed World Series replica bat. But you're going to have to outbid me on that one because that's going to look really good here in Studio K right under that sign when I win that. You can also bid on signed baseballs from current D-backs players Corbin Carroll and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., as well as a batting practice experience at Chase Field for a game during the 2026 season. I don't know if you've seen, but the Diamondbacks are going to be holding a batting practice over there at Chase Field and having people come out for different sessions. So again, you can sign up over there, or you could win it at this auction and help out a very, very good cause. So check out the Reno Aces website. You can we tweeted out the link from our account, but you can also get it in the show notes as well. We'll post it there. So if you're interested in bidding on that auction, we implore you to do so. And let's help out our Diamondbacks family here. Shout out to David, wishing him the best. But again, we thank you guys so much for joining us today. We will be back tomorrow. We're going to talk about some of those trade scenarios that Mike Hazen might be looking at, as well as some more free agents that this team could acquire. And we'll see if any action has happened once 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time rolls around today. But of course, until then, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at cap_caveman with a K. Damon is at Damon Dog with a DAWG at the end. And we are all Damon's dogs. Bark, bark. Our show is at PHNX_Dbacks. But as always, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you guys so much for your time. We love you. We appreciate you sharing your time with us. We will be back again tomorrow. Until then, have a wonderful evening. Emily Williams, thank you for your super chat again. She says Derek gets no tacos if he doesn't do the jersey list. Fair. That's fair. I can't argue with that, Damon. I probably don't deserve tacos if I don't get that jersey list done. But we thank you, Emily, for your super chat.
We could literally do a jersey list episode, Derek.
We're going to do that for Emily.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Let's just do the jersey. We're just going to do the updated list live on the show.
Yeah.
And then I'll put it into writing for her so she can have forever. But that's a great idea.
We'll do like a tier ranker of the jersey list. We'll try to give Emily a little bit of.
We got to get the new Perpientes jersey in there, because that's the biggest thing changing.
And then maybe you could go written side on the other end of that.
I'll do my job. I will do my job. Well, thank you all for being here. Behave yourself, Emily specifically, and remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you don't have to scrape the bottom of the bargain bin.
We all silly like the mayor.